Welcome to the channel, everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about the belt sander. Now, I'm not sure how long these tools have been around, but I was hearing about them, 10, 15 years ago, and I was at an ATEG class. They were talking about how some of the OEM manufacturers don't want a grinder taken to their car, and for removing spot welds, they said you should use a belt sander. And the first thing that comes to my mind, how are you going to cut steel with a belt sander? I'm thinking sander. I'm not hearing grinder, I'm hearing sander. So I kind of just blew it off. In the future, it's probably going to be the case where these cars can't be repaired anymore. They keep putting more and more restrictions on the repair industry. And then finally I tried one. I borrowed a guy's and I seen him using all the time, so he let me try it out. And I'll tell you what, once I used it, I was hooked. This belt sander that I have, this uses a 13-inch belt. I've got some of the 3M and the Cubitron. These are 60 grit. They make 13 and 18-inch belt. This is a 13. A lot of stuff is hard to get into with a cutoff wheel or a grinding wheel on a cutoff tool. You know, for years for removing spot welds, these are about the only option, this or a die grinder, but put a 3/16-inch wheel on here, and these actually work real good, but sometimes they're bulky, you can't get them into places. Where this here is, if you can touch that weld with your finger, you can get in there because it's kind of like just point in there. It could be inside a pocket, up under a frame rail, inside a trough, a gutter trough or something where the head of this just doesn't fit. All right, let me show you how these things work. If you want to change the belt, all you have to do is push this on a hard surface. What that does, it pushes the front part of this head back and it locks it in here. Loosen up this little wheel. Then you can just take the belts out of here to replace them. Close that back up. And then push on this lever. This front is spring loaded, pushes it out, locks it in so it's got the correct tension on there. Then it's got a hex head bolt in here, so you can swivel this head around. You can get any angle you want out of it, and that is just real handy. Set it where you want it, tighten it back up, ready to go. I'm going to do a demo on this, going to compare it to the cutoff wheel, show you the difference. Okay, I've got a test panel set up here. I've got about 6-7 welds in there. What I used for years was just a cutoff wheel. We always used to get 1/4-inch discs for these, and 3M quit making them, so it looks like everything now is 3/16, which works just as well. You have to be careful with these. You don't want to grind into this bottom piece of steel. You just want to remove the weld, get it down there nice and flush without grinding into here. And sometimes if you can't see real good, or you can't get a good angle on it, you can push in kind of deep and you're going to cut into this lower level. The belt sander, it's 3/8 of an inch wide and you can control it a little better. It might take you just a little longer to grind that weld down, but you can get a nice flatter surface. You can keep an eye on it better. It doesn't heat it up. I'm going to take this grinding wheel first and remove a couple of welds, and then I'll switch to the belt sander. Okay, when you're removing a spot weld, here's what we're looking for. You can see this edge right there, so that shows that the weld should be completely separated. Here it's separated. We got right to the bottom of the weld here. Maybe a little bit thin on that. We might need to grind a little bit more. To get that weld all the way out so there's nothing holding it, we have to grind a little bit bigger, being the curve of that disc has to reach down in there. And this is where you can get in trouble. If you're trying to get this edge ground so it separates, you're going to be cutting down the center a little bit more, maybe too much more than the manufacturers want. The belt sander is a little bit flatter. It does a little nicer job. So I'm going to switch to the belt sander now and do a couple of welds here. Okay, and with the belt sander, being that 60 grit is not as aggressive as the grinding wheel, sometimes a little bit tougher to pick out that little mark where the panels separate, but it's in here, a little harder to see. It's a little bit slower, you have a little more control, it does give you a smoother surface. It's like anything else, you just have to get used to it. And I'm going to take the grinding wheel and the belt sander and finish these couple welds and just put them flush to see which one puts a smoother surface on. Okay, for cleaning up your plug welds, I think the belt sander does a nicer job. It's a little bit rough here. You can see the outside edges of the welds, and I could hit them a little bit more with the cutoff wheel, but it'll usually gouge into there. You can use the grinding wheel to knock these down most of the way and then finish up with the belt sander. So it's not that one works and one doesn't, it's just they both do the same thing a little bit different. So I'm going to show you a couple other uses with this belt sander. Okay, if you've just replaced a quarter panel similar to this car here, these welds, you wouldn't grind these out to replace the quarter, you'd actually drill them out. So then once you plug welded it with your MIG welder, to try and clean those up, the grinding wheel, you just can't get in there. There's really no good way you can get in here and do a nice job. But with the belt sander, you can get in here and you can finish these welds off real good. Easy to get in. You can get in on the side here. Like I said, if you can touch it with your finger, you can usually clean up or weld or grind a weld. All right, say you've got to reach in behind somewhere you don't have real good access. You can get a grinding wheel in a lot of places. Sometimes the head of it, the shield, is in the way where you're having a hard time seeing what you're doing. But some things, they're just hard to get in there and do what you need. And with the belt sander being, you can change the angle on this head. You can get into all kinds of tight places, different angles. Best thing about it, you can usually see your work a lot better. You don't have a big shield in the way restricting your vision. Okay, let's talk about cost on these. I've seen these go from $80 to $90 all the way up to $250, $300, depending on the make and model. But you know, there's 13-inch belts, there's 18-inch belts, but like anything, prices are all over the place. If you're using these discs here, this one here, 3/16, I bought a few of these off of Amazon, and I think they're $10 a piece. Now, over the years, I figured out if you're doing a quarter panel replacement, you're going to remove most of your welds with one of these and then clean up your plug welds, you'll probably use a complete disc to do 1/4 panel. Now, if you're going to use the belt sander, what I found, you probably go through about 5 or 6 of these belts, and I bought these off of Amazon. A pack of 10 was $20. So if you figure half a box, $10, it's about the same price. This is going to be a little bit slower, take you a little bit longer, and it's not a tool that's going to replace everything out there. It's not going to replace your 3-inch wheel, but use it in conjunction with it, and you're going to find 1,000,001 uses for these things. Plastic, rubber, wood, it doesn't matter what you're working on, a vehicle, something at home. It's just something that's really handy, and I wish I would have had one about 40 years ago. Saved a lot of headaches. So if you've been using one of these things for a long time, hopefully you'll agree with me. If somebody's got one in the shop you could borrow, try it out a few times, but I think you'll be hooked same way I was. Well, I think that'll do it for this video. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, send me a comment. Let me know what you think of these belt sanders, and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.